There you go. Yes.
There we go. Here we are.
Perfect. So I think it's working now great, which is good. So again, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Now, because our previous try didn't work out, I have to give you another epic welcome to the show. So you already know.
I will not stop you.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So here we go.
The closest I'll ever feel to a professional athlete.
Yeah, this is by far my favorite part. But anyway, so starting with the whole interview now, tell me how your acting career started.
So I've been acting all my life. I mean, the first acting performance I did, I had a cousin who taught me Saturday Night Live sketches, specifically The Church Lady by Dana Carvey. So ever since I was little, I've been acting, but I went to school for it at Florida State. I got a degree in theater where I learned kind of everything about the world of theater, and I did professional children's theater touring in Florida for a couple of years before I moved out to California and entered the entertainment industry and the film industry at large. And I've worked in production, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, and more recently and more permanently in the booth. I do mostly voiceover now, but I do also kind of jump around into all the other worlds as well.
That's amazing. So let's start with the reels that you have on your webpage. So tell me about the comedic reel. So we will see a couple of sketches in that video. Tell me, what are some of the things that you enjoy the most while doing them?
In general, I love comedy. I love making people laugh. I love being paid to act like a moron. That's always the most fun gigs to get. And then in terms of the sketches that are on my reel, and just comedy in general, what I love is you are truthful and honest about stuff, but in a comedic way. So that's what's relatable. And like one sketch in particular on my reel that I love is Basic versus Butch. It's an older one for me, but I love it, especially now as we're getting towards the fall season, taking a comedic spin on what us ladies love the most about fall, whether we're basic or butch. So that's one of my favorites.
That's amazing. And what do you think it's the key to make a good comedy sketch?
I think the key to good comedy is honesty. I think that bringing an audience in on the joke is always the best kind of comedy. I feel like the best comedians, whether they're stand-up, sketch, or in, larger pieces, films and whatnot, the scenes that always stick with us the most are the ones we feel like we're in on the joke on, not ones that are kind of blocking the audience out. So I feel like honesty and relatability are the key to a good comedic character and sketch. And good chemistry. You need a good banter back and forth, for a scene to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, the key is honesty. Otherwise, I think this happened pretty much all the time, right? That whenever you really want to be funny, it's not gonna work,
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the trick of it? It's like when you're trying to be funny, it doesn't work. But when you're not trying to be funny, that's when everyone's laughing at you.
Yeah, that's true. Now, let's talk about the dramatic reel. So what are some of the things that you enjoy the most about those sketches? And as well, tell me how you prepare for a dramatic scene.
My favorite part about dramatic scenes at large, but also especially what's on my reel, is getting to say out loud what normally you don't. I think that's kind of the key about dramatic scenes, dramatic pieces in a larger sense, is it's again that honesty and vulnerability, but a lot of times is vocalized, or really visually represented in a way that in real life it's either stuffed down, not talked about, breezed over. How many times in real life do you have these like hypothetical arguments in your head? I love a certain phrase of mine as a kid. I used to say, in my mind, when I really want to tell somebody off or have a confrontational moment. It was always in my brain. It was never in real life. So that's, I think, my favorite part about dramatic scenes, is you really get to live and embody these moments that in real life would not go over so well. So
Yeah.
and then as far as preparing for a scene, whether it's comedic or dramatic, I like to do two things. Well, definitely read the script and read what's going on, where we're going, so I don't, shoot myself in the foot, so to speak, at the start. But also I like to look for similarities and differences in two ways. Similarities in the sense of finding what is relatable and what is honest to me about the character and what they go through. I don't necessarily have to be a international spy, but if I can relate to hiding a certain part of myself or lying to people I love, that's something I can use to bring to a character. And then
of course,
looking at the differences, what makes this person tick, what do they love, what gets them up in the morning, what are they afraid of, what do they hate, and then that helps me kind of give them a rich backstory from which to bring real moments to. So
there you go. Now, do you think between comedy and a drama scene, the only difference would be how they build it? Otherwise, they're pretty much the same. Or what do you think?
That's interesting. I would be curious what you mean by how they build it in terms of like the writing. Yeah, I mean, I think they both are coming from honest, good writing is coming from honest, vulnerable places.
Yeah.
And I guess they are coming from a very similar place. And even in a lot of times comedy is not necessarily inherently funny. I mean, like one movie that comes to mind immediately is Meet the Parents. Like it's not funny to me. That movie is not funny. What that man goes through is not funny. And yet it's hilarious because it's not happening to us. So I think that it's not necessarily that they're built different. They can be built very similarly. I think it's just in terms of how, that's interesting of what the actor gets to bring to it and what the collaborators bring to it. That I think can really change a piece from comedic to dramatic and vice versa.
Yeah, and it is true. I mean, sometimes it will be like these dramatic movies that somehow they're gonna be funny, but they're not they're not comedy itself. So I get what you mean totally. And then you will be laughing, or you would think you would think that it's gonna be funny, but they're not. It's drama. So yeah, I get it. I get that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and like in terms of poorly done films or just not as strong of a piece, I guess. Yeah, then you can get that if like it was meant to be serious, but if they're not coming at it from a place of honesty, really, it always comes back to honesty, I feel like, for me. But when you're not being honest, then it can let leak in what you weren't intending of comedy when it really shouldn't be, or seriousness when it really shouldn't be.
Now, tell me about the hosting reel. What do you think is the key to be a good host for a channel?
So my hosting reel in particular is all done. It was for secondary education through McGraw-Hill. So it's all very educational. And in those particular scenes was medical. So for doctors, people learning about HIPAA, PAs and nurse practitioners and all those people. And across the board hosting, the trick of it is, obviously I am not a doctor, I am not a nurse practitioner, but I have to be knowledgeable enough that I can sound informed and like I'm someone you should be listening to and taking this information from, and not being like, okay, she has no idea what she's talking about. So it sort of becomes my job to not only deliver the lines, but feel comfortable with those words, especially when it's highly technical jargon. Make it sound like I say, the laws of HIPAA regularly enough that sounds natural coming from me. And with hosting in my reel, that was also all done with teleprompter. So being able to sight read and deliver in a way that I'm not just reading words off of a page and delivering them. That's where the training comes in. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you could host a channel right now, which one you would choose? Like any channel, which one you would choose?
Well, very different from what my hosting reel is, but
Yeah.
I have a big crush on Guy Fieri, and any show of his, I would definitely want to co-host on. But I would probably say on HGTV, I would definitely want to host something about thrifting. Much to my husband's chagrin, I love to find things that are in good condition on the side of the road. I love thrift stores, secondhand buys, anything like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would also love to host on Turner Classic Movies. I love old movies, so that would be another one that I would definitely love to geek out over.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Then if at some point there's any producer or any, someone who has like a channel and is looking for a host, you know who to call.
Yeah, let me know.
There you go. There you go. And the last reel that you have is the stunt reel. So tell me, what do you think are some of the things that someone should consider before starting doing stunt job?
Some of the things that people should consider before doing stunts: safety and training. And I would say the training applies to any acting, because stunt work, whether your face is being shown or not, it's still acting. You're acting with your body. So training would be full stop first thing I would say to anybody. And with stunts in particular, I would definitely say safety and trust of who your partner is a big one. But stunt can be a lot of fun, and my sister actually is now a professional stunt woman, and I'll be learning from her, so I'm sure she'll be able to tell me more about what I should know with what's wrong with my stunt reel and all that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I do believe also that it is that you get the chance to discover like new muscles and new parts of new muscles on your body that you usually not use because of depending on the scene that you have to do, right? Like if it is a fight scene, or they will throw you out of the window, or like stuff like that.
Yeah, one thing I remember learning that has always stuck with me from when I first started in the world of stunts was about hand-to-hand combat. When you get hit, obviously I have to fake getting hit. And something that I think is really interesting that maybe anybody out there, whether they're an actor or not, might pick up on if you are getting in fights, I don't know. But the closer to the heart the hit is, the more guttural the sound. So think about when you stub your toe, it's usually a more like ow, or like high-pitched ow, versus if you got hit in the stomach, or got shoulder checked, or anything that's closer to the heart is going to be a deeper guttural sound, versus further away is going to be a higher pitched. And I always just thought that was interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. How cool is that?
Things to think about the next time you get hit,
Yeah, absolutely. And the other day I was checking in this interview they did to Tarantino, in which he was saying that back when Bruce Lee was alive, like all of the stunt guys hate Bruce Lee because he actually hit them.
Oh yeah.
So they were pretty pissed. So they hated to work with him because all the time they were getting hit by him. So and now we will see like in all of the movies now that the fight scenes, they can be super real, and there is no reason to actually getting hit by it. You know what I mean?
It's tough though. I mean, that's part of where the training comes in, and the trust with your partner. I remember being on a set and I had to hit the girl with, and I think this is one of my reels, I had to hit the girl with the curling iron across the face.
Yeah.
And she had a prosthetic on her nose, and I got close enough that it touched the prosthetic, which looked great. My scene partner did not particularly appreciate that I was so close to her. So that was definitely you have to have such control that you can sell it as out of control, but it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love at some point if I could do like stunt job. I mean, I love like those type of stuff that getting thrown out of the window, or like getting all beat up or stuff like that. I mean, I would at some point I would like to try that. Yeah, for sure. Because it looks fun,
Just pick a fight in a bar. I'm sure someone will be glad to throw you through a window.
Yeah. Or even better, I mean, once we finish this whole interview, I will go right now to my neighbor's house and be like, hey, we we need to talk right now. So,
Is that right? Just we
Okay.
gotta step outside right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, going back to the whole interview here, tell me how you usually prepare for a character.
So I kind of touched on that earlier about like I'll read the script for sure,
Mm.
or if it's just audition phase, the breakdown or any information I can get on the character, I appreciate. I know there's some people who like to go sight unseen and totally create it on their own, but I'm definitely a knowledge is power kind of person, both acting and otherwise. So I like to read as much as I can. Is this a character that's has more stories behind it? Is this like I've played the Greek goddess Athena, as well as I'm right now playing Aphrodite, so I've played a couple of them. Yeah. But obviously there's lots of information out there and lots of portrayals that have already been done. So in characters like that, I really like to go and mine what I really liked about certain portrayals, what about their stories really resonates with me, and I sort of like to cherry pick what works for me in this project and kind of shed the rest. And then I like to pull from myself, because there's a reason I was picked to portray this character, so I like to bring a little bit of me to it, and usually I do that by seeing what's the shared experiences, what is relatable to me about this character, what do I like agree with this character on. That's usually my starting point. And then I was actually just telling my author of an audiobook I'm working on that vocally I like to kind of walk around in the character's voice a little bit, and so I'll talk about them to myself or talk about things that they love, hate, are afraid of, and those types of things, to get kind of a more well-rounded voice for them and ground the character a lot more.
That is really cool. And in general, what do you like the most about acting?
I love storytelling. As you can tell, I'm long-winded. I like telling stories. I like entertaining people. And I like being able to use my imagination and be creative every day. I really love that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Like all this, and also I think the fact that you can discover kind of new places, and you are like with this character that you're going to perform, and then at the same time you are playing this character, but it's you know what I mean? So I think that aspect, it is also like very interesting and very cool, and it's like it is like taking a break for yourself in order to be somebody else for a while. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I would say I'm probably one of the most well-traveled, live the fullest lives, and yet a lot of times without leaving my booth or without leaving Los Angeles, which is pretty incredible.
How cool is that? Now,
yeah, right?
Now tell me how your voice acting career started.
So like I said, I've been a trained actor and went to school for that. But it wasn't until I got to Los Angeles, while I was pursuing on-camera acting, that I had a day job with a German sausage restaurant, and we had a little stand on the Santa Monica Pier, and actually while I was giving a hot dog spiel, a man asked me if I did voiceover, and I knew kind of what that was from being in the acting world, but just knew like cartoons. And no, I hadn't done that. And so he encouraged me and said, you should definitely look into that, blah, blah, blah. And I now have heard like, oh, you got a great voice for voiceover, which isn't untrue. And if anybody ever tells anybody watching that, you should definitely pursue it. But it's a lot more than just your voice. It's still acting. It's still coming from some other place. But that's how I got into it. I said, why not? I am an actor, so I'll just cut a voice reel, and that's one more thing I can put myself out there for. And then shortly after, I booked a job for a week with a company called Pop Sugar, and they're an online publishing company. And so I did hosted work for them, actually, vocal hosting. And then they kind of kept bringing me back. And then sooner or later, I realized it had been 2 years that I had been there. And in that time, I started to take voiceover a lot more seriously, cut a professional reel, got really good training, workshops, agents, the whole 9 yards. And then after I left Pop Sugar, I was freelance, and that was in 2017. So it's been about 6 years that I've been permanently freelance and loving every minute of it. So yeah.
That's amazing. And what were some of the challenges that you first had when you started doing voiceover?
Definitely finding out about voiceover. The community is so welcoming and amazing and supportive, but really just Google searching like, how do I this, that, and the other to get started. Then I would say the real biggest challenge, both at the start and currently, is finding quiet in Los Angeles is not easy. And you need quiet in order to record. So that, and it has only become harder because I had a baby in July, and so he is a very chatty man, which I love, but also now I've got one more sound barrier, so to speak. So a sound barrier I love, though.
Yeah, of course. That's so awesome. Wow. And how you usually train your voice? So how you train your voice to be able to make it sound different, like for characters or stuff like that? Like how would you train for in order to do that?
So depending on the character, a lot of times I do more natural speaking style characters. There's a voice actor, D. Bradley, who I might have screwed up his name, but he does lots of monster sounds, and that is is a world I am just beyond impressed by. And that's not my bread and butter, is more my natural speaking voice. So there's that. And like I said, then it's more just character work of, what is this person, what's their backstory? How do I relate? But as far as vocally speaking goes, I have training background in improv from Groundlings, which is kind of SNL type characters. And a lot of times I'll, even though you can't see it in the booth, use a lot of physical acting to figure out what the character is. So if I find out they're very tall or they're very short, or, they're hunched over, any of those kind of physical attributes can help change a person's voice, even if only minorly or a little bit. And then past that, like, are there any quirks about them? I love if auditions or collaborators include any visual element. If I can look at the character, the drawing of it, or prototypes, if they say like, oh, similar to this character or that character, if I can look at the physicality of that person, it's a lot of fun to try and weave in, like, what would that movement and motion influence out of the voice. Yeah,
and I've also heard that whenever they will, for example, they will do like a fight scene or something like that, that there are some actors that they would ask for like a prop. For example, if it is a gunfight, so they can have like a prop gun and be holding it, like to make it more more real.
I have gurgled water in the booth. I've eaten lettuce and chips. I have held things in my hand. I've been running in my booth. Lots of physical elements to it that the audience never gets to see, and it's really cool how it comes through.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on your website, we can see that you can do the work for projects such as animation, audiobook commercial, corporate narration, e-learning, explainer videos, intros and outros, IVR, live announcer, medical narration, podcast, video games, and a lot more. So tell me, what's the process or approach that you usually take for each project?
It's not, each one is nuanced. So like same but different, right? It's from all of them. I'm reading first what the client or the other side of everything, the powers that be, what do they expect, what do they need, why did they hire me? I have to answer a lot of those questions first, and then the nuances come in, right? Like if it's medical narration, I'll watch videos of actual doctors talking about whatever the medicine or the medical jargon is that I need kind of a backstory on. If it's animation or video games, I will play or watch, and I will kind of do my research that way. That's also a lot of fun, the fact that watching TV is part of my job. So So I'll mine from that of, you know, what are the creators, what have they done in the past, what's their voice, you know, on a project. Because like you mentioned Quentin Tarantino earlier, you can kind of pick a Quentin Tarantino movie out from other movies, right? Like you can recognize what his kind of whole thing is.
Yeah, his thing.
So, yeah, like versus Schitt's Creek, right? Like there's choices that are made by certain creators, and you want to be able to live in the world that they have so thoughtfully created for you.
Interesting. And what do you think it's important for people to know whenever they are starting like the whole voiceover?
Getting started in voiceover, I 100% would say, as with everything else, training is most important. Getting in there and practicing, finding out what your strengths are and what makes you unique, you know, because you're selling yourself essentially. You are your own product. So treating yourself like a business in that sense, those would definitely be early starters. And then if you're just trying to get in the booth and get something, I started out in my closet. Actually, the first audition I ever did, I did sitting on my bed and just into my laptop. So, and I booked it. So I just mean to say that, like, work with what you've got. There's no need to wait until you can afford to own your own private home studio to get started. You know, work with what you have and then just kind of reinvest it into your career. And I would say that for on camera, voice acting, or probably any chosen career path, work with what you've got, reinvest it, and level up, you know?
Preach. Yeah, absolutely.
We're just living video games, right?
Yeah. Now, if you could do the voiceover for any movie, TV show, or video game, which one you will choose?
I would love to do Jill Valentine of the Resident Evil series for video game or on camera or animated series. Anything Jill Valentine does, I would do. I'd love to be an American version of Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. Just any of those badass strong women, which we are having a moment, ladies. I would love to be the voice of any of those kinds of women. I'm a big fan of the shows Big Mouth and Bob's Burgers, and I would absolutely be floored to be on any animated show that has that lightness and that sort of innocent fun to it, but is geared more towards an adult audience. I really love that. So sort of like a dichotomy of the video game characters I would love to play versus the animated, animated shows are pretty different. And I think that's a lot of fun. Variety is the spice of life, and I love being able to play many different characters. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been mentioned this a few times on my previous interviews that, for example, on video games, right, that back then the whole voice acting wasn't that. I mean, they didn't put like much importance to that, and you could tell, right, that there were so many video games in which the voice acting was horrible. It was just awful, and they will make the game awkward and it was just horrible. And now they are
it's cinematic.
They're putting like a lot of attention to it. I mean, besides voice acting, they also do motion capture sometimes with the same actors who are giving the voice. So the whole fact that technology is working these days, and they're making, I mean, I wouldn't say like video games. I mean that they look like a movie at some, you know, sometimes they will look like a movie, you know. So
yeah, and I was lucky enough, I can't say much about it, I'm still under NDA, but a video game I had the distinct honor and pleasure of working on, and I cannot wait to talk about. I also was lucky enough to get to do the motion capture for it, and that was so much fun to
that's amazing.
Do the voice first and have created this whole character, and then get to physicalize the character I had vocally created based on an imagined physical embodiment. It sort of came full circle for me, so that was so much fun, and really is like
cool.
the icing on the cake of when you get to work on a project to get to be such a part of it.
So you are so you can tell anything, right? I mean, nothing.
I asked my agents, they asked, and so I'm so excited.
That's okay. It's okay.
No,
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Nice. I mean, what I like is to have it's like these kind of news are like exclusive here in my show. So whenever it's gonna be released, I think that it's gonna be awesome. I mean, I definitely can't wait.
Yeah, I will definitely be letting you know, letting the viewers know, letting all my friends and family know.
Yeah,
Very excited
please
to
do.
shout from the rooftops.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I can wait. I can't wait.
Two projects I can speak about are, I'm literally in the last week wrapping up the sequel of an audiobook I did with my favorite author, who I think is watching, Angelina Singer. We did the first story, which was Forgetting What I Couldn't Remember, which is available on Audible and iTunes. And then I'm wrapping up the sequel to it, which is Forgiving What I Couldn't Change.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot of fun. All the characters coming back, new characters I've got to introduce. And then the other project that I'm wrapping up, hopefully in the next few weeks, it's been a long time coming, is On Camera. I produced and was in a short film we crowdfunded and put on all mid-pandemic, which was crazy. But that will be finishing up post any minute, any day now, and we'll be putting it out into film festivals soon after. And I'm very excited about that. That one's called The Little Things. The original story was written by my husband, but then the screenplay was adapted by a good friend of mine, Joy. And I'm super proud to say that the entire cast and crew is female. So it was a really strong lady-powered movement. So that was awesome.
That's really cool.
And we're now international, as our colorist is based in London and our composer is based in Russia. So we are officially not only all women, but internationally coming to it.
There you go. And we have here the exclusive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Those kind of announcements are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, heard it here first. Hopefully any day now.
Yeah. That's how we roll on this show. We're just giving the exclusive material here.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, what motivates you? What motivates you? Like, what keeps you going to pursuing your passion for acting, voice acting? Like, because I think we all have bad days, right? We all have moments in which we are wondering if we should quit what we're doing or not. So tell me, what is like your motivation just to keep going?
I definitely am no stranger to the existential crisis, and definitely have my share of bad days. What am I doing all of this for? Especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
But I would say keeping going during those tough days, and realizing that, like, even on the worst of days, I get to step into the booth or step into a character's shoes, and I can let a lot of what I'm feeling go into those characters is a blessing at worst. Like, even on my worst days, I'm getting to be creative, be imaginative, and really lose myself a lot of times in a character. And that is something I never want to take for granted or be ungrateful for. And it also helps that I'm part of a group I started through a theater company called Noisy Nest. I started an accountability group, and we call ourselves Artist Accountability, but everybody's an artist if you're passionate about your life. So twice a month I meet with them and we go over goals, and it's really helpful to have a support system to stay focused and to keep moving. Even if it's just like a little bit of movement, it's better than stagnation or giving up. So that helps a lot.
That is epic. That's epic. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, the whole, it's interesting, right? We all, whenever we will get this moment in which we are gonna question, we're gonna question ourselves, if we should continue doing this, or we should change to that. And of course, that whenever you will start like this project or something, that at first it's gonna take time, but at the same time, when you get those little moments in which you get some results of that project that you are just starting, it feels amazing. Yeah. Right?
Like, getting to see what all the hard work was for is incredible, and it's honestly not that often that I get to see the finished product. So that is like such a treat when I get to see a finished product or hear where a project ended up.
Absolutely.
And that is huge for momentum and pushing me along. Sometimes those come at the perfect time too, right? Like,
yeah,
you're really starting to question things, and am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? And then something comes along that you're like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Like the moment when you pretty much lose all hope and you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna do something else. And then out of nowhere something happens, and then you're like, I'm maybe gonna stay here for a while. You know
maybe
what I
I'll
mean?
stick around a little longer. I also love the phrase I heard. I can't remember who it's attributed to, but you can fail at anything, so why not fail at something you love? I love that. Of like, just the point of, there is no easy or sure thing in life, and so why would I want to do something that I still could fail at, that still could end poorly, and I didn't even like it or care about it as much as this? So that always sticks with me on the days that I'm like, maybe I should do something else. It's like, no, this is the thing I want to do. This is what I love doing, and even when it's hard, I'd rather be doing this than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting that we live in this kind of, we live in this world in which we are used to that whenever that we will have like our dreams and passions or whatever, but sometimes we just don't do it, and they're just remain dreams, and then one day you will be 70 or 80 years old, and then you're gonna question yourself, why I didn't do this instead of that. I mean, and I've seen that with some family members too, that they're now on their 80s or 70s, and they are all the time angry because whenever somebody is explaining like this project that they're super happy, they get jealous. And the reason why is that because they spend all their life working in a place that they didn't like at all, that they hated. Yes, the money was good, but they hate it. And then
they weren't fulfilled.
Yeah, and then one day when they realized it was they were like 70 and 80 years, and they just felt bad. They felt horrible because they thought they think that they pretty much waste their lives. I mean, I don't know. But I think that one of the things that I kind of suggest or one of the things that I want to make sure that everybody's doing is to enjoy life, to enjoy every second of it. I mean, we take things for granted too much, and we often think that we're gonna be here forever, and we never know. I mean, it takes only 1 second, and then your life can change to everything, so why not just doing what you want? I mean, if what you want is doing acting or voice acting or be a doctor, lawyer, whatever, but as long as that's what makes you happy, then what's the point of having a life or doing something that you don't want to?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I feel like a lot of times it can feel selfish when you choose those kinds of paths, but I always like to think that it's not, because as soon as you embrace your truth and what you're passionate about, it inspires other people. Think about the people you admire the most typically are people who really went after a dream, went after something that they believed in even when other people didn't. And I feel like if you can step into that and be brave enough to do that, it only serves as a gift to others. So I try to remind myself when I'm feeling not so great that every day that I put in my work and dedicate myself to what I know I want to do and don't give up, who knows who out there it might encourage to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I do when I get frustrated or angry, I just walk with my dogs.
Yeah.
Like I will pretty much close my computer, throw my phone away, and be like, I'm just gonna be out of technology for the next 3-4 hours. So I was walking with my dogs or doing like something out, and then instantly, like I start to like the more that I start to chill, the more ideas get. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, wait a minute, I haven't thought about this. I could do this instead of. You get like a whole restart here.
Right? Like the more space you can give. This applies to acting as well. Of like, the more knowledge you have, and the more the closer you are to something. I feel like once you can really let go of the control of it and step away, that's when all the creativity can rush in. There's another quote I love quotes, if you can't tell, that's, you'll get what you want, but you might not get it the way you want it to. And I like that, of like, you can go after things, but a lot of times you really have to let go of trying to control every element surrounding it. And I would say as a voice actor in particular, but as an actor in general, like, that's a lesson I've learned, because I'm such a small piece of such a big project that it's a very humbling experience to be like, there's so much in this that is out of my control. All I can do is focus on what is in my immediate, present moment. What can I handle about that and be truthful with, and the rest I have to just kind of let live.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Look at
I love like this type of conversations, because
deep convo.
Because I mean, life at the end, I wouldn't say that is hard or easy, but it all depends on perspective, and as I said before, that what's the point of doing something that you don't want to, I mean, we all have been there, in which we're doing something that we don't want to, because I don't know, we need to pay rent, or we need to pay all of that stuff, and that's fine, of course. But why not eventually try to pursue what you want, So whenever you get like those moments, or like those bad moments or stressing moments, at least it's because at least it's with what you love, and at some point it's what you love, basically. So
yeah, and a lot of times you have to do what you got to do to make it a reality. I was working when I was working at Pop Sugar, I was still working as a waitress and as a cater waiter, so like I was working 7 days a week often. Double shifts, from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and you do what you got to do to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Be able to do what you want to do.
The key here is to not lose focus. I mean, to not lose like what's the target. Like I'm doing this work to pay stuff, but at the end I want to pursue that. Because a lot of times also happen, and it did happen to me at some point. For example, that I had this job, and instead of focusing on what I really wanted, I start to spend it into so many ridiculous ways. I mean, you can tell from some of the background behind. And then I realized that I should have saved instead of spending here, right? But it's just a lesson, and now I know. Now I'm like, next time I am
sometimes
not gonna.
Sometimes those lessons suck to learn, but we have to in order to not fall for them again,
Yeah.
I hate when I have to learn a lesson multiple times, though.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. It really sucks. So yeah. So what happens now is that whenever I see those, I'm like, yeah, I know. Like whenever.
Hey, but now they sit behind you and push you forward, right?
Yeah, like whenever I will buy something, I just look in the back and be like, yeah, you're right. I won't. I don't. Let's save one instead. So yeah. But hey, Chelsea, I mean, you have such an epic vibe here. You are an amazing person with such awesome career, and as I said before, I can't wait to see more of your amazing super work coming. From what you told me, you have a lot of amazing things coming soon. So we definitely can't wait to check them. Also, thank you for those who tune in. And if you're listening this later on the podcast or watching this later on the YouTube video, make sure that you are following Chelsea in all over social media. Normally, what I would say is put pause, hydrate, and then follow Chelsea. Leave a bunch of likes here and there. Why not sharing? Share some content too. Why not? And then come back for sure. And again, Chelsea, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I really enjoyed talking to you and chatting about, not only career and industry, but life, man. We hit some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. We have so many bad news lately. I mean, there's so much evil lately, and why not inspire people? Why not motivate them? Why not give them the reason to stop like following this ordinary roles and just create their own, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a little light in the darkness, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Now, before I send you off, I need to send you off in an epic way. Yeah, I need to do that. So here we go.
Thank you. Oh, you're too kind. They like me. They really
love you. Yeah. And again, Chelsea, thank you so much. Keep having an amazing rest of the day, an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
All right. Bye.
See ya.